I hated about last season? What I hated about last season was the nitpicking. And I'm talking about specifically my Lakers, but let's go even further than that. Russell Westbrook. All last season, I don't care if it was if he played a game, he was the most available of the big three, right? Because AD missed the majority of the season. LeBron missed 20-something games. Russ played almost 82 games. Every time he played, the next morning, whether it was podcast, whether it was radio, whether it was television, whether it was social media, it was a lot of nitpicking. It's almost like Russell Westbrook was being watched. His every move was being watched. On the court, off the court, in practices, preseason, regular season. They didn't make the playoffs, no playing tournament. It didn't matter what it was. And it is more of the same already. I'm seeing the same thing already. He's played in 3 preseason games? Played pretty solid in the first 2. Didn't play well last night. But I hated that part of just the sports coverage and fans and just the internet. I hated that last season. The nitpicking. And here's the thing. At one point, if you were in LA, if you were in New York, and if you were in Boston, those were like the three, those 3 organizations. Lakers, Celtics, and the Knicks. You were under a microscope. The bright lights, the 24-hour, sometimes very harsh news cycle. You were definitely under a microscope. I think about Melo when he was with the Knicks, under a microscope. Dwight Howard when he went to the Lakers, under a microscope. In Boston, not really the same, but especially New York and LA. But you know what? I think it's actually changed. I think it's gotten worse. And now I got to take Boston out of the equation. I even have to take the Knicks. I got to take New York out of the equation. I can't remember a time. I've been watching basketball since I was a child. I cannot remember a time like now where every time the Lakers play a game, it could be a scrimmage, it can be a preseason game, regular season game, whatever it is. It can be a game that's on primetime TV or a game that's just on NBA League Pass. It doesn't matter. Every game is critiqued down to a T. Some critiques are objective. A lot of the critiques are just unfair and kind of silly. And that's how it was for Russ all last season, even though, no, he did not have a good season. I'm not going to defend that. But that's how it was for him all last season. And he's dealing with that again now. If you ask him, he'll say he dealt with criticism like this when he was in OKC, when he was in Houston, when he was in Washington, and now, in LA. I think it's the worst it's ever been. And here's the bad thing about it. And I'm a fan of the Lakers. You guys know I'm a fan of the Lakers. It's my team. I'm a fan of Russ. At one point in time, he was like my favorite player in the league for a little bit. I'm still a fan. He's not my favorite player in the league now, but he's up there. He's still a guy who I get excited to watch hoop just because of his catalog. But I have to admit this. I even feel like I'm starting to become victim of what I'm watching, what I'm hearing, what I'm reading. And then, of course, because I give my opinions and my perspectives and I do my own coverage on my platforms and I watch every game, I just feel like I'm getting overly consumed with it too. And I really came to this realization when I was watching the game last night. I'm watching Russ, and every time he was on the court, I found myself watching him more than anybody else, like watching his every move, how he was moving without the basketball, what he was doing when he had the basketball in his hands, what was he doing on defense, what's he doing when the shot's going up, is he boxing out, what's he looking like on the free throw line, what's he looking like on the bench, is he engaging with his teammates, is he engaging with the coaches, what's his demeanor like, warm-ups, all of that, post-game. I found myself falling victim to it. And I can't imagine what that would be like for everything to be nitpicked. LeBron dealt with it when he went to Miami. He dealt with it when he first got to LA. I think that his play, because of how great he's been on the court, it trumps a lot of the nonsense that you hear. That's the difference between him and what Russ is dealing with. Russ had a low year last season. Put up his lowest numbers since his 2009-2010 season. He had some bloopers. He had a blooper reel. I'm not gonna front. He had a blooper reel. And right now, that's my concern. My concern is him on the court, right? And he's not fully to blame for why he's still even though I know it's a preseason game, watching that game last night and just feeling like he just didn't seem comfortable, didn't seem like he really was in the flow of the game. I can't put that all on him. I got to put it on the organization putting this team together. It's just not a well-constructed team. They got younger this offseason, and individually they added some more talent to the squad, but it's just still not a well-constructed team. And I don't know what this coaching staff is going to do yet. They seem to be saying and doing a lot of the right things right now, but it's the preseason. We'll see. But the internet, man, is undefeated. I don't, and the thing about it is I don't care about the internet stuff sometimes. I don't care about the two videos that went viral last night. Him not in the huddle right before the game started, and him kind of like just slapping Pat Bev's hand, not really wanting to join that little huddle, that phony huddle that Pat Bev seemed to be putting together. It was like my brother would say, it was kind of late. It's like, why are you even trying to get these guys together when the guy that rushed his foul and sent to the line is about to shoot these free throws? I don't care about that stuff because that doesn't really tell us really anything. That's just people taking something and running with it like a lot of people on the internet do. And even Russ spoke to that today. He said, man, I've been doing my warm-up routine has been the same for years that I've been in this league. I've been in the league for, this is 15th season. He said, I've been doing this for years. So he said, I can't pay attention to that. And he said, yeah, the situation with Pat Bev wasn't personal to him or his team. It was more so he was frustrated about, the defense assignment and him and I guess his teammates failing on that defense assignment. He was talking to the coaches, so he was just frustrated in the moment. So I don't care anything about that. I more so care about the on the court stuff. And from what I see on the court so far, and like I said, it's the preseason, but we've seen this episode before with him not being a great fit for the team. I'm just gonna go and say this: if I'm Coach Ham, you gotta play Russ more with the second unit. I'm not saying don't start him, but the bottom line is when he's out there with AD and he's out there with Bron, he's gonna take the back seat. You're net, and I get that, and that's fine. But at the same time, it's like with him taking the back seat, he's just not accustomed to having to play multiple possessions where he's just off the ball, and barely getting touches, barely getting shots up. You can even tell psychologically is when he gets the basketball, he's trying to like force feed his teammates to get them involved, and he was passive last night instead of just sizing the guy up and being aggressive when he sees a lane. Because the thing about Russ, is he is one of the best drivers of the basketball. And we're talking about a guy who can get out on a break and push the tempo, or a guy that can, when he sees a different pocket and a half court set and an opportunity to get into the lane. Man, it's not a lot of people that have had a history of doing what he can do in those situations. And it's not just about him getting all the way to the cup and getting a bucket for himself, but he draws the attention of the defense. He can kick it, find open man. But when he's out there with AD and Bron in particular, when it's just him and AD, it's a different dynamic. But when it's all three of them, and you have a guy like LeBron who's very ball dominant, and then you have AD playing the 4 to 5 and kind of clogging up the middle sometimes, that's going to be a really tough adjustment for Russ, especially when he doesn't have the basketball and you're asking him to play off the ball. I believe that you really got to give Russ more opportunities to do things that he's familiar with, right? Because if not, then send him home, drop his minutes, trade him. If you're not going to allow him to do some of the things that he's accustomed to doing. And I think that the best time for him to do some of those things, and that's okay if that's not a priority for them, but then let's stop playing this game and trade him. But if you're gonna keep him, then you have to know your personnel.